Bonjour, I am at Château de Milandes, Josephine Baker's castle, and I promised you I'll bring you here. Unfortunately, I cannot film inside the chateau, but we'll take a walk through the gardens, and I'll film the exterior for you because it's a beautiful chateau. And along the way, I'll give you some of the history of Josephine Baker, an absolute icon in France.
This design from the 20th century was used without real structural change. Jules Vachereau, landscape architect and also chief of parks in Paris, invented the so-called modern French garden in 1908. It was therefore built 4 years before the complete restoration of the castle in 1912. Now, Gilles was a great lover of roses, and this background therefore presents several species which provide a beautiful surrounding for the statue of the Virgin Mary. The Gardens of Milandes is made up of 2 different sections. There's the regular park, which is this one here in front of you, and that is juxtaposed next to an irregular or landscaped park. So let's move to the landscaped park. Now, the regular park is also divided into two sections. There's the upper terrace, where we are now, with the building, and then the large regular garden in front of you. The upper terrace, close to the chateau, begins with a small bed of boxwood embroidery. Now, this is done in Art Nouveau style, inspired by the Renaissance, in order to make the link between the Renaissance Gothic style castle and the regular Art Nouveau period park. The garden was last restored in 2016. Josephine Baker was born on June the 3rd, 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. To help support her family at the age of 8, Josephine started cleaning houses. She briefly returned to school 2 years later, before running away from home at the age of 13. She lived as a street child in the slums of St. Louis, making a living with street dancing. And then she found work as a waitress at a club, and while working there, she married a man named Willie Wells, from whom she divorced only a few months later. In 1921, Josephine, now aged 15, married another man named Willie Baker, whose name she would keep for the rest of her life despite their divorce later in 1925. In 1923, Baker landed a role in the musical Shuffle Along as a member of the chorus, and the comic touch that she brought to the part made her popular with audiences. So when she moved to New York City, she again quickly became a crowd favorite. In 1925, at the peak of France's obsession with American jazz and all things exotic, Baker traveled to Paris to perform in La Revue Nègre at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées. She made an immediate impression on French audiences when she performed in the Danse Sauvage, in which she only wore a skirt. However, it was the following year, at the Folies Bergère Music Hall, that Baker's career would reach a major turning point when she danced wearing, apart from a beaded necklace, only a skirt made of 16 bananas. The show was wildly popular with Parisian audiences, and Baker was soon among the most popular and highest paid performers in Europe, having the admiration of cultural figures like Pablo Picasso and Ernest Hemingway. She became a symbol both of the jazz age and the Roaring Twenties. In 1936, Baker returned to the United States to perform in the Ziegfeld Follies with Bob Hope and Fanny Brice. She wanted to show America what she had achieved in Europe. However, she was met with a hostile reaction. This revival of the Ziegfeld Follies on Broadway was not commercially successful, and the Time magazine referred to her as a Negro wench whose dancing and singing might be topped anywhere outside of Paris, while other critics said her voice was too thin and dwarf-like. Heartbroken and disappointed, Josephine returned to Paris in 1937. Then she married the French industrialist Jean Lyon and became a French citizen, giving up her American citizenship. When World War II erupted and France was invaded in 1940, Josephine Baker worked for the Red Cross during the occupation of France. She then left Paris and went to the Château de Milandes in the southwest of France. At that stage, renting the chateau, she housed many people who were eager to help the Free French resistance movement led by Charles de Gaulle and supplied them with visas.
Nous sommes dans le dressing de Joséphine Baker et suivez-moi, derrière une porte dérobée, ignorée du grand public, se trouvait bien l'une des nombreuses cachettes de Joséphine Baker. Elle y entrepose des armes pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Alors dans les caves du château, des juifs, des résistants sont également mis à l'abri. Elle fait installer au château des Milandes un récepteur radio. C'est ici qu'elle entend l'appel du 18 juin 1940.
Eh bien, c'était très bien pour le maquis, les maquisards. Tout ça a commencé ici. J'ai continué jusqu'à la liberté complète de la France.
As entertainer, Baker had an excuse for moving around Europe, visiting neutral nations like Portugal, as well as some in South America. She carried information for transmission to England about airfields, harbours, and German troop concentrations in the west of France. Notes were written in invisible ink on her sheet music. And for these efforts, in 1961, Baker was awarded both the Croix de Guerre and the Legion of Honor with the Rosette of the Resistance, two of France's highest military honors. Following the war in 1947, Josephine Baker bought Château de Milandes, where she spent most of her time. Now, in the same year, she married French orchestra leader Jo Bouillon, a union that lasted for 14 years. And this is where they got married. The chapel next to the chateau. The outside has been renovated, but they are still busy with the interior. In 1950, she began adopting babies from around the world. She eventually adopted 12 children in all. creating what she referred to as her rainbow tribe.
I must have the money for these children. The Milan must live. It must not die. This village is too important. It represents a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ideal. And the ideal must not die. It mustn't.
In 1963, Baker joined Martin Luther King Jr. in the March on Washington and was among the many notable speakers that day. Josephine Baker's dream estate, complete with exotic animals that included a pet cheetah and multiple monkeys, came at a huge financial cost, and she found it increasingly hard to keep up with. By 1964, her lavish lifestyle had brought her to the brink of bankruptcy and eviction. With creditors eyeing her chateau, the icon of the jazz age made a desperate plea for help.
Et vous devez combien d'argent actuellement?
Je dois 200 millions d'anciens francs.
A moved Bridget Bardot, then at the height of her fame, rushed to her side and appealed on television to the French people to help Josephine.
J'estime que cette femme a eu beaucoup de courage dans sa vie et a toujours été très généreuse. Et qu'en ce moment, nous ne devons pas la laisser dans cette situation.
But 4 years later, in 1968, the Château de Milandes was auctioned off for good. After a last meal with her children, they were sent off to friends in Paris. But Josephine returned to the chateau, slipped in through an open window, and barricaded herself in the kitchen, living by candlelight.
Eh bien, j'ai décidé cette nuit, tranquillement ici, sans protection, sans personne là pour me garder. Et j'ai dormi aussi très bien, mais de temps à autre, je me suis réveillée, je réfléchis. Je suis décidée de me laisser mourir par la faim, pour montrer à quel point qu'il est nécessaire d'arrêter toutes ces injustices et combattre contre, en France comme ailleurs.
Eventually, after many days, the new owner had the kitchen door broken down, and 4 men had to drag Josephine, who was clinging to the rail of the stove, out the back door. There she sat till she collapsed. Sad, disappointed, and weakened, she was taken to hospital in the Paris region before a close friend, Princess Grace of Monaco, offered her financial assistance and a seaside residence on the French Riviera. Now in her 60s, the music-hall diva was soon back on stage, performing in Paris, Copenhagen, London, and New York's Carnegie Hall.
And I know I belong to you. I wanted so badly to belong only to you. I've given you all I have throughout all these years, so that one day you came on the same path of life as I, you would find it smooth and not so hard. And now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. I so profoundly love and respect humanity in general. So I did it my way. I did it my way.
On the 8th of April 1975, Baker opened at the Bobino Theatre in Paris, in the first of a series of performances celebrating the 50th anniversary of her Paris debut. Many celebrities attended, including Sophia Loren and Princess Grace. But exhaustion and a series of heart attacks and minor strokes had taken its toll on her. And after a second performance, she was found lying unconscious in her bed on April the 10th. She had suffered a final and fatal stroke. She was hospitalized but passed away 2 days later on the 12th of April, aged only 68.
Is worth saving. The line is drawn, the curse, it is cast. And the slow one now will later be fast. And as the times are rapidly changing, the first one now will later be last. For the times, they are a
Today, Château de Milandes is open to the public and displays her stage outfits, including a banana skirt, as well as many family photographs and documents, as well as a Legion of Honor medal. Most rooms are open for the public to walk through, including bedrooms with the cots where her children slept, a huge kitchen, and a dining room where she often entertained large groups. The bathrooms were redesigned in Art Deco style with gold leaf ceilings, but most rooms retained the French Chateau style. Let me introduce you to the owner and show you some interior clips I could gather from various television programs.
Je suis Angélique Delabarre et je suis la fille de la propriétaire, ma mère qui a acheté en 2001, et le château des Milandes, bien sûr, en Périgord noir au sud de Sarlat.